Hello, my name is Alexis Kramer, and I'm currently a junior here at Missouri State University. My formal report was entitled The Deaf Community versus the Cochlear Implant. Within this report, I touched on aspects of the deaf community as well as the cochlear implant and how they affect one another. I chose this topic because I'm a proud product of CODA, which stands for A Child of a Deaf Adult. My mother was born profoundly deaf, so this allows me to have a personal connection to this specific subject. Today, I'm going to go a little further into depth about these three areas: deafness, the cochlear implant, and coexistence of the cochlear implant and deaf community. To expand in the area of deafness, it is seen as a lifestyle which is a counter to the idea that deafness is a disability. Deafness actually includes a history and a unique culture. While deaf individuals indulge in their own communities, there are also issues with the lifestyle that I will explain further along in this presentation. To serve as a healing mechanism to deafness, the cochlear implant was of course created. This is ultimately a complex device that provides sound to a deaf individual. Tied to this device are mixed feelings within society, both positive and negative, about the effect it has on the individual and overall deaf culture. In conjunction with deafness, there are also issues this device faces that you will be made aware of later on. Having spoken on both of these two topics, we now reach the idea of whether or not the cochlear implant and deafness can coexist. The cochlear implant creates a different lifestyle for an individual and merges them into the hearing culture. This sometimes creates a divide between hearing culture and deaf culture. On that note, it can ultimately create an argument on how the two can coexist without eliminating deaf culture as a whole. To give you all a little background information on deafness, I will proceed to inform you about deaf culture, what it entails, and what issues lie within this community. Furthermore, many times society underestimates the abilities of the deaf. Deaf individuals can speak to others on the phone, drive, and do many other normal day-to-day activities. While many people feel communication amongst others is the main issue for deaf individuals, it is not. Similar to other foreign languages, deaf individuals have their own unique language with vocabulary and grammar. The primary language for the deaf is American Sign Language. This is a form of communication using symbols with one's hands. Not only do deaf individuals easily communicate with deaf using ASL, they can put this language to use throughout the journey of their education. There are schools specifically made for the deaf. To name a few, there are Missouri School for the Deaf, Highland Elementary, located here in Springfield, and Gallaudet University. Having said that, although it may be difficult for deaf individuals, they can obtain degrees, become educators, businessmen or women, and much more. In contrast to this, while deaf individuals do not view themselves as disabled, they still continue to face many challenges in the hearing world we live in today. Deaf individuals can't listen to music, hear sirens or alarms, but they face many bigger issues such as lack of education and job options. Although I have mentioned a few deaf institutes, many other educational systems have special needs programs, but these programs were not made to accommodate the deaf. Like my mother, a lot of the time, those that are deaf found themselves being sent across the state to be properly educated, and even then, the education was not comparable to one of a hearing individual. Aside from education, many deaf individuals are not hired because of ableism. There's a strong discrimination and underestimation of the skills that deaf people possess. Because deafness is seen as a disability, society continues to promote and upgrade the cochlear implant. While doing so, they are eliminating deaf culture as well, which is ultimately resulting in a genocide of their kind. Deaf individuals view the cochlear implant as a device that has been presented to fix something that was never even broken. These people do not see disability within themselves, but rather a simple difference in culture. However, many doctors feel that the biggest and best contribution that they have made to the deaf community is giving them a chance to hear again. Of course, the solution to this supposed problem was Graham Carrick's 1982 invention of the cochlear implant. As I stated before, the cochlear implant is an electronic device that provides a sense of hearing to a person who is deaf. The implant consists of an external portion that sits behind the ear and a second portion that is surgically placed underneath the skin. With therapy involved, the implant can allow a deaf individual to hear sounds within their environment and help him or her understand speech and eventually be able to speak. For hearing parents, the cochlear implant sometimes serves as the best thing that could ever happen to their child. With this device, Many people feel it is a pathway to the hearing social world and gives individuals a chance to regain normal life. While many parents feel that a child cannot live without the cochlear implant, some children have no choice. The total cost of a cochlear implant, including evaluation, surgery, the device, and rehabilitation, can cost as much as $100,000. Fortunately, most insurance companies and Medicare provide benefits that cover the cost. However, some do not. Moreover, not only is the procedure costly, but when implanted, there is not always a chance that it may work. A child may understand sound, but never be able to process speech. The outcome depends on the patient. And like many surgeries, there's always a risk. Individuals may leave the surgery with nerve damage or even paralysis in the face. Despite these issues, does it always have to be one way or the other? Those with the cochlear implant and those within the deaf community do not have to be divided into two entirely different perspectives of life. They can come together. This will result in a child becoming a part of bi-enculturation, the process of one becoming a part of two different cultures. A deaf individual that has a cochlear implant may enter the deaf community and still become a part of its culture, while still heavily involved in the hearing culture. Bilingual development using American Sign Language and spoken English can be considered as the first choice option for the children with the implant. Not only would this be an advantage towards the cochlear implant, but also it provides the child with competence in two different languages. Now, who doesn't want to put that on their resume? Moving forward, according to the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, the number of adults in the United States 20 years or older with a hearing loss is expected to gradually increase from 44 million in 2020, 15% of adults, to 74 million by 2060, which is 23% of adults in the world. This future growth of the deaf community means more advanced and upgraded cochlear implants. This will have a great effect on both hearing and deaf communities. This projected increase can allow better cochlear implants. However, it can also take away recourses for current deaf individuals who don't even want the cochlear implant. On the basis of these realizations, we can now identify the difference between the cochlear implant and deafness. Moreover, we can equally understand the history and are more knowledgeable about the factual information. Lastly, we have discovered how both the culture and device can coincide, and what growth in both areas means for the future of society.